Yo, you see when you're buying the bots, you gotta realize what it says. The subscription for the bots finna end. You gotta re-up. I study charts for a living. Chat, I study charts for a living.
I study rap battles for a living.
Deutsche, people think you're a plant because you have plant tendencies. The thing about hip hop is that you could feel a movement. You could feel something that's happening around you. And the thing with Deutsche is we can't really pinpoint it. And that's the problem.
Don't get me started on that industry, plant.
I can play it on Spotify real quick. I mean, we'll play it then.
With the shit that these guys have going on right now, I don't know. They're doing this to this song. They're doing that to that song. They're taking songs. They're doing. I don't know. I don't know anything about any names. I'm just saying, it's a lot going on in the music industry. God only knows. You never know with everything that these guys got going on, right?
I don't know if they're investigating botting or what. I don't know what they're investigating. How Drake telling y'all other niggas bot? Y'all trying to get at Drake because y'all think he bot? Come on, man.
Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, in the first day of 2025, we already got dumb delusional doofuses dish deranged deceptions and disinformation degrading Doechie's defiant dominance and descent into stardom. Stupendously staggering supersized streamer Snackademics and the atrociously awful Adin Ross make it seem she's manufactured to align with bot narratives, but like a Claritin, I'm here to clear the congestion and misinformation by doing due diligence and a real dissection of Doechie's career so we can steer clear of fake industry plant labels and fables fabricated from Drake's disciples. On top of Snackademics and Adin Ross's Doechie spiral, their steak stuff is struggling, bringing RICO cases to Drake, Adin Ross, and Akademiks' faces. Lots to be breaking on this New Year occasion, so stay stationed and get the fornicating on the like and subscribe, and let's jump into this ride.
I study
Rapaholics
for a living.
Now, Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, first day of 2026, and we're already back on the BS. So happy New Year, by the way. Love you all. And if you want to check out a full recap of everything that went down in music and pop culture in 2025, check the link in the description of this video because I did a crazy deep dive of 2025.
Oh, it's just too good.
But I want to take it back to 2024 because it's no secret that with the Drake and Kendrick Lamar battle almost 2 years ago at this point, certain industry figures and rappers caught strays just due to their proximity. Pusha T, for example, was censored by UMG, the very label that Drake was suing because Push wanted to include a Kendrick Lamar verse on his album. We know Jay-Z has been attacked on Twitter by Nicki Minaj for the past 12 plus months over what seemingly started by Jay-Z picking Kendrick Lamar for the Super Bowl halftime show over Lil Wayne. And by that same token, we also saw Doechie being attacked simply just for existing.
Huh?
See, back in April and May of 2024, when Kendrick Lamar and Drake were trading shots, this TDE up-and-comer was relatively unknown by the people who were following the battle and picking sides. But along with Kendrick reaping the fruits of his labor by 2025, Doechie would see similar acclaim and accolades following her mixtape, Alligator Bites Never Heal. And from there, everything changed.
This category was introduced in 1989, and 2 women have won. 3 women have won. Lauryn Hill, Cardi B, and Doechie.
Oh, dude, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that industry, plant.
And fishy, ain't nobody heard from Doechie.
It's about what?
I knew you would say that.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. We can find another topic. Yeah, please. I was just asking y'all a question.
I don't know what the context is.
What the industry plan?
We can move right along. Yeah, because I thought it would be a little more obvious than it is, but I guess it's not yet.
Now, as both Kendrick Lamar and Doechie would rack up these awards left and right from the Grammys to the Super Bowl stage, Drake was plotting a newfound battle of his own in the courtroom. The main premise of his lawsuit against UMG over Not Like Us was the fact that they deliberately pushed the song through illegal business tactics like deploying fake streams and bots to make the diss song seem a lot more popular than it was.
I study
fake streams
for a living.
At the height of Drake launching this lawsuit, Kendrick and Doechii were also launched into another stratosphere of superstardom, as both of them had massive looks on both the Super Bowl stage and the Grammy stage, which left their Spotify numbers looking astronomical. Kendrick broke the record for being the first rapper to hit 100 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Meanwhile, Doechii was in the top 5 most listened to rappers on the platform for a good month or two, which seemed suspicious given the fact that she had at this point really just one popular project and about 3-4 months with this mainstream light on her.
Don't get me started on that industry, plant.
I'll explain why that's relevant shortly in this video, but you have to understand the climate of where things were back then. Drake is making the bold claim that Kendrick Lamar was using fake streams to make Not Like Us the anthem it became. The battle itself brought a ripple effect of division amongst fan bases, with anyone standing near Kendrick Lamar or his camps catching strays. Doechii being the prime suspect, as she was the up-and-comer of Kendrick's former record label TDE. With both Doechii and Kendrick Lamar seeing strangely massive upticks in their streaming activity, right as Drake put out this lawsuit accusing Kendrick Lamar of using fake streams, Kendrick and Doechii become prime suspects number 1 and 2 for using bots. Basically the poster children of fake streams.
I study
Poster children
for a living.
And with this quick rise Doechii experienced, and the Ovi hoes thirsty to fuel a narrative that she, along with everyone else associated with TDE, is using bots, her come up evolved from artsy, ambitious girl who made a really strong project and rightfully saw success and acclaim from it, to manufactured artist with no real fan base that was simply planted by the industry. An industry plant. It's sad that when Doechii is discussed today, the first thing that comes to mind for most people is that industry plant label. Because as a new star, her come up was actually a lot more refreshing and similar to the traditional path for artist development than we've seen in a while. But because the industry is used to cheap 15-minute of fame TikTok stars, Doechii's meteoric come up raised eyebrows. And she touched on that in her new song, a song that sent Drake's side of the media landscape in a spiral. Ironically, around the same time where Drake and all his disciples like Adin Ross and the guy who runs Akademiks' Twitter page get caught up in a lawsuit related to stake and music bots, the very same thing they've been accusing Kendrick and Doechii of using.
I can play it on Spotify real quick. We'll play it then.
With the shit that these guys have going on right now, I don't know. They're doing this to this song, they're doing that to that song, they're taking songs, they're doing. I don't know anything about any names. I'm just saying, it's a lot going on in the music industry. God only knows. You never know with everything that these guys got going on, right?
We're gonna break all that down, but let's first try to understand this whole industry plant narrative thing. What I think a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of Doechii's success obviously came from the massive look she had when she won Rap Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards, right? That project in its first week, Alligator Bites Never Heal, it only sold around 11,000 copies in the first week. Her monthly listeners on Spotify shot through the roof right after that Grammys night because most of the world didn't know who Doechii was. But after seeing her perform on that Grammy stage and winning one of the most coveted awards of the night, a bunch of people went to go check out what Doechii is all about on Spotify, which explains why she probably went from around 10 million monthly listeners to 60 million monthly listeners damn near overnight. At the same time, they're going on her YouTube and checking out her catalog there. What they would discover is that Doechii has been documenting her journey within the music industry for the last damn near decade on that YouTube channel, which in and of itself dispels a lot of the industry plant rumors, but we'll touch on that shortly. But on that YouTube channel, they would find a random freestyle that Doechii did in her parents' house way back in 2020 to the instrumental of Goche's song Somebody That I Used to Know. And with all these newfound eyeballs on her from the Grammy Awards, now checking out this YouTube and gravitating towards that Somebody That I Used to Know freestyle, they would shoot that freestyle into virality, causing Doechii to actually end up releasing it onto streaming platforms to where it would become the massive hit that we now know as Anxiety, the main song that fueled these industry plant rumors. With that, of course, Doechie's monthly listeners would grow even further. Again, all in the span of like a month or two. She wins the Grammy, anxiety blows up about 3 or 4 weeks later, her stardom goes through the roof, but then as the months go on, less and less new people are checking her out, so naturally, her Spotify monthly listeners go down astronomically. The same thing happened to Kendrick Lamar after the Super Bowl. The same thing happens to every major artist when they're on that Super Bowl stage or have a big look. They get a flood of brand new eyeballs who go and check out their Spotify profiles, listen to their music. Some of these new fans and new eyeballs stick around. Some of them end up dripping off, which is why you'll see a massive spike in monthly listeners, but then you can just as quickly see a massive drop. Whereas someone like Eminem, Kanye West, The Weeknd, these artists who have been established for years at this point, their monthly listeners are going to stay relatively the same because it's not a major massive moment that's fueling new people onto their profile. It's the everyday fan. So as you can see, the monthly listener thing has nothing to do with bots, but more so to do with both Kendrick and Doechie having these massive moments in the Super Bowl and the Grammy Awards, which saw millions of new eyeballs flood their pages. But maybe you're still not convinced that Doechie isn't an industry plant. Maybe there's more to it. Like, how did she even get that Grammy in the first place? How did her songs just start blowing up within the span of like a month? There's an answer to all these questions, which is all rooted in Doechie's authentic come up. By the time her mother brought her into this world, Doechie was exposed to and surrounded by different music in and out of the house. She has early memories of being a kid surviving those brutally warm winters in Tampa with live music flooding the street corners surrounding her.
Growing up in Florida, I just was around a lot of music, a lot of different creatives. It was just a lot of hot summer days and a lot of music. That's how I grew up. I just remember hearing a lot of music.
Doechie was deeply involved in church during her upbringing in Tampa, Florida. She grew up in a home that emphasized strong Christian values, and the church played a massive role in her upbringing. Doechie would spend 6 days a week at church where she sang gospel music and performed as a dancerette in a Christian marching band.
I was in the choir, we had a dance team, I was like a leader in praise and worship. I also was a part of their band, they had a marching band. I grew up on like real gospel music.
Now, on a side note, while digging into Doechie's past, I gotta give a really special shout out to the YouTube channel Spatial. They do amazing documentaries on probably all of your favorite artists. I'm gonna leave a link in the description of their video on Doechie because a lot of the interview clips that you're gonna see in this video came from the research that Spatial did. I'm not trying to take credit here. I just wanna document Doechie's rise and give you my own perspective on what I think about her come up. It's an interesting story. This early immersion into church activities nurtured Doechie's musical talents and stage presence. This discipline and performance experience that she gained became the foundation for her dynamic artistry that we see today. Doechie acknowledged this herself, saying that all of her artistic values and training came out of her church experience. Not only was Doechie involved in the church's musical programs, but at 11 years old, a pastor had prophesied that she would touch millions of people with her gifts, which is a moment Doechie describes as being quote-unquote anointed. At the time, Doechie didn't yet know what those gifts were, but this spiritual affirmation combined with her church-based musical training played a significant role in shaping her path as a performer and an artist. In an interview, Doechie explained, "I was anointed that day. I'm very aware that my purpose is to inspire people through music. I think I'm meant to mirror a truth about people. That's my purpose."
I've always had a longing to connect with spirit and God, and I look for God in everything that I do.
But aside from the musical influence instilled through her church and her neighborhood, and aside from the strong attributes of her personality that were molded by her mother, it was Doechie's dad and uncle that actually had introduced her to hip-hop, with both of them being rappers themselves.
Both my dad and my uncle were rappers. My dad was like Snatch It a Boss or something like that. My dad does have some CDs out and he has music on streaming and on YouTube. And my uncle, I don't know if he ever officially put anything out.
Now, although her life at home fostered creativity and spirituality, with both her parents being positive role models for Doechie, her life outside the house was far from comfortable. Throughout her childhood, Doechie experienced intense bullying, both within her own community and the private schools she attended. This duality, attending private school while living in a low-income neighborhood, left her feeling out of place in both environments. She faced racism and colorism, including being called derogatory names by peers of all backgrounds.
You bougie, you rich.
Exactly.
They think you got
so
more
it was
than-
kind of like
yeah.
that type of experience. So I got bullied a lot in like predominantly white areas, but then I would go around my black friends and get like bullied too. I was always caught in this weird place where I went to private school, but I would leave private school off scholarship and then I would go to Sulphur Springs, which is the hood. I would go to school and I would have one personality because I wanted to fit in with other people of other races.
Right.
And then I would go home and then I was like, oh, I can be myself now. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of hard growing up because I didn't know I had an identity issue.
Right.
And I code switching all the time.
The bullying escalated to a point where in 6th grade, Doechii contemplated ending it all. However, she had a pivotal realization. Ending her life would only let her bullies win. This moment of clarity led her to embrace her true self and gave birth to her artistic persona, Doechii, a symbol of reclaiming power and self-worth. At her lowest point, Doechii had a realization that shifted everything. She opened up about the moment in an interview with The Cut, stating, I realized, oh F, I'm going to unalive myself and then I'm going to be the only one gone. The bullies aren't going to be with me, and everything they said is not coming with me either. I would just be gone. And then I was like, F that, I'm not going for that. And this wash of peace came over me, and I received, I am Doechii. And you might be thinking, if the bullying got this severe, why didn't Doechii's parents step in? Well, they did. And it was thanks to their intervention and more specifically, her mom's affirming words that led Jayla Hickman, the 12-year-old from Tampa, to become Doechii.
My mom was very protective of me, but it got to a point where she was like, okay, girl, how many times are you gonna get beat up? Are you gonna keep letting people bully you or are you gonna stand up for yourself? So eventually I saw her fall back and just allow me to stand up for myself. You gonna fight back or you gonna get beat up? And I got tired of getting beat up.
Tired of getting beaten up and bullied, Jayla needed a new creative source, or a character shift. Something that could bring her the fulfillment and confidence she needed to shut out the outer noise and live life on her own accords. And that's when the shy 6th grader decided to become someone new and write a new identity for herself into her diary.
Created a character to protect
Exactly.
the real you.
As a defense.
Yeah.
What age was this?
6th grade.
Oh, 6th grade.
Yeah, 6th grade.
Yes.
And I've been Doechii ever since. I told you, like, I had like an identity issue. I just felt like I wasn't allowed to be myself in all of the spaces that I was in. I just decided one day, like, bro, I'm gonna die. The only person who's gonna be in that casket is me. And I wanna die happy. I wanna do what I wanna do and be who I am. And I came up with a name and Doechii came to me. I wrote it down in my diary in 6th grade. And then I started branding myself really early.
And with the birth of Doechii, Jayla's entire attitude and perspective on life had completely changed. She embraced who she wasn't afraid to express her creativity, and delved deeper into exploring her talent as a performer and a songwriter. It might have not been much at the time, but with the confidence that her alter ego of Doechii gave her, Jayla decided to form a rap group and perform in talent shows at her middle school.
I started this rap group in middle school. I wrote a song for the talent show and it just kind of built from there. Everywhere I went, I just would do music or try to collaborate with somebody with music.
And this is where we really get the birth of Doechii. With that middle school talent show, Doechii wrote her first ever song. And while people in 2025 might be screaming industry plant, Doechii's been planting the seeds for over a decade, rooting it all back to a cookie cream pie.
Your love is like a cookie cream
pie. In my heart, I could eat it up. I did a talent show and I wrote a song. And my first song that I ever wrote was, your love is like a cookie cream pie. In my heart, I could eat it up. It was so bad.
Now, of course, Doechii was surrounded by hip-hop and music in general throughout her childhood, but the inspiration didn't only stem from her hometown. She was an animated person at heart, a performer, and as she grew up, she watched some of her favorite rappers integrate animation and theatrics into their bars, their voice, etc. And that inspired her to do the same.
I actually got inspired to play with different voices from Lil Wayne. Early Wayne did that a lot. Nicki Minaj does that a lot. Tyler, the Creator, does it a lot. I think that's when I realized, like, oh, you can be animated. You can incorporate, like, theater.
Doechii would continue building the foundation, taking initiative to bring her creative skill set to new levels. In the 9th grade, she set her sights on the Howard W. Blake School of Arts, and the school wasn't in her district, so she had to audition for its Magnet program, which is essentially a school program that offers a unique curriculum focused on a specific area of study, such as science, technology, or in Doechii's case, the arts.
It's two sides. It's like a public side and then there's a magnet side. So if you want to get into the arts program, you have to audition. So I auditioned in 2012. I was in chorus. I also did jazz vocal tech. I did music theory, a little guitar. I tried musical theater, but it wasn't my thing.
At the time, Doechii didn't know how to read music yet, but they accepted her because she had a strong voice. She made sure to go full force on using the school's resources to develop as an artist, and she says this program was what taught her the most essential elements of music composition. She recalls her experience there saying, "They let the performing art kids get away with a lot. I was never really in class. I would just be in the practice rooms playing piano, going over classical choir songs, dancing. I did everything but be in class."
That's where I made a lot of my friends who I still work with today, actually. I learned about jazz music, music composition, how to read music, how to write music, how to make songs, and it really is the core of the music that I make today.
Doechii was convinced she would graduate and become a professional choral singer until around 2014 when one of her best friends put her onto the idea of producing and releasing her own music online without a label. And like most aspiring artists or creatives in the digital era, Doechii documented her progress on YouTube, but not necessarily in hopes of getting discovered by a record executive off the strength of her music on the channel. As a matter of fact, early on, music seemed to be a side quest on her YouTube page. She posted covers and a few original tracks to the channel, but it was more like a visual journal, showcasing every step she took towards getting where she wanted to be.
Now we go to class. Today's not working. Today's story is going to be about the crazy time that your girl almost got kidnapped.
In summary, to quickly just broadly say, obviously being a black girl now feels lit as ever. To be honest, I walk around with my nose up.
I remember literally not being able to afford a camera. I used just my phone to like film my videos, and my front camera didn't work, so I had to use my back camera. And I just kind of ended up growing this community of people that just like to hear me ramble. And it ended up growing into this actual fan base that I have now.
And this to me is the best answer to the question of, is Doechii an industry plant? Is she some manufactured pop culture puppet concocted by the music industry executives? See, the best and worst part about the internet is that everything is saved forever. The best part about Doechii, though, is that not only was she an open book back then, but she hasn't changed. Most artists would wipe their entire history off the internet as soon as they blow up. The tweets, the home videos, embarrassing videos, early music, erase or filter the past, start new, and remain a mystery. But with Doechii, every video she ever created remains on her YouTube channel. The same channel that you can find her Grammy Award-winning mixtape, or the top 10 songs she landed with anxiety. That same YouTube channel hosts her entire evolution as an artist long before the fame. It's almost like a passport of every stop she's made on this creative journey before she got to this point of success. The point where people now think the talent, the accolades, the star power is all manufactured. Now you might be saying, okay, so she documented her progress as an artist on YouTube. That doesn't mean shady label tactics weren't involved in artificially propping her up and shoving her down our throats. Well, there's a lot more to the story than just a calculated creative and a YouTube channel. There was a long journey of confusion, struggle, failure, doubt, even homelessness that came with it. In 2016, a few months after her senior year, Doechii participated in a freestyle challenge set to Monica's song So Gone. People really effed with it, she says. It was the push she needed to go all in. Not long after, she put out her first song, El Chapo, on SoundCloud. It's not the type of flashy single that would have record labels knocking on your door, but it feels unusually mature for a debut song. Doechii sings with a mix of confidence and vulnerability as she effortlessly switches up her flows. And the song gained tens of thousands of streams within just a few months. And Doechii said, after that, I was like, oh hell no, I can do this stuff. But good luck finding that song anywhere. That's one part of her history that she wants erased.
Your first song was El Chapo?
It was El Chapo on SoundCloud.
Which is hard to find now.
Yes.
Will it ever come out though?
Absolutely not. It's a horrible song.
And while a lot of Doechii's YouTube videos in the beginning were lighthearted and fun, taking trips to Disneyland, telling stories about her dating life, school, her efforts to break into the industry, as she got older, life began to hit. Bills needed to be paid, a career needed to be built. It's fun chasing dreams at 17, 18 years old, but once you make it into your 20s, reality sets in and you gotta make a living somehow. You ever hear of a starving artist? Someone who puts their everything into their craft but can't survive financially off of it? Hollywood has thousands of these people, and at one point, Doechii was walking the thin line of potentially becoming one of them. After the mild traction of her El Chapo record and some of her early music, Doechii toured neighboring areas around her hometown of Tampa. But she was in search of something bigger. As she puts it, being the best rapper out of Tampa was great and all, but that wouldn't pay the bills.
Think that I had done every show, I did every club in Tampa, and I was looking for something else. I wanted people to know about my city. I wanted to learn new things, and I wanted to get in a space where I wasn't the best. Oh, I said that humbly.
I rock with that.
Come on. So when opportunity came knocking, Doechii went packing. In 2019, Doechii got the opportunity to be a contestant on The Voice, a competition TV series that aims to find unsigned singing talent from auditions. With Doechii looking for an exit plan out of Tampa, The Voice seemed like the perfect opportunity. The only problem is, it was located way out in New York, where Doechii had no place to stay, no friends to call, not even a return flight home.
I was still an independent artist when I was in New York. Starving, struggling.
Yeah. What brought you here? Was it just like, all right, I'm going to go and figure
I got
it
an
out?
audition with The Voice.
Doechii put it all on the line with this audition. If she won, she'd not only get a record contract with UMG, but also a cash prize of $100,000 to fund a music career and a lifestyle in the expensive state of New York. The only problem is, Doechii didn't win.
They called me out there to audition for this thing that they had. I didn't make the audition, but I swore I was gonna make the audition. And I didn't have enough money to get back because I was like, The Voice is gonna accept me and I'm gonna live here and it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It did not work out that way.
Now this is when Doechii walked a French fry thin line of almost becoming a starving artist. And I mean that with all puns intended, because after The Voice, being stranded in New York with nowhere to go, Doechii was on the verge of homelessness, even having to resort to making a resort out of a McDonald's restaurant. Alright, I'll stop with the puns. But yeah, Doechii really had to seek shelter in a McDonald's the night that she was rejected off of The Voice.
Didn't make the cut and I didn't have enough money to come back.
Okay.
So I had to stay in New York.
Where were you staying though? Like with a friend at a hotel?
It was kind of like every night I just had to figure it out. One night I would stay in Jersey with like my mom's friend who she knew, and then I would get booked at another show. I got booked the day after I did The Voice.
Okay.
So for that night after The Voice, I slept at a McDonald's.
With her dreams still in full force, Doechii walked the line of homelessness as she constructed the early connections in music that would eventually make her a star. To survive alone in New York, she stayed anywhere she could, eventually meeting some college kids who shared similar missions as her, and they let her crash in their dorm rooms.
So my time out there was really hard at first because I didn't have anywhere to stay. I didn't really know what I was doing, but then it ended up being so sweet because I built a community with people that were just hustling just like me, which was like a lot of college kids letting me stay in their dorm, which they shouldn't have been doing.
And you might be thinking, what would keep Doechii in New York when she had nothing there? Her family, her home, everything was in Tampa. She'd really risk losing it all to survive on her own in a new city? Well, as far as Doechii tells it, she felt she was close to something in New York. And she was definitely right.
Mom knew I was in New York. She just didn't know that I was struggling.
Right.
And I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want her to be right. Because she was just kind of like, it's not safe for you to go out there by yourself. You don't have no money. What
You
are you
went
doing?
by yourself?
Yeah.
You're stressing me out.
I know, that was my mom. I feel like something's close here in New York and I can do this.
But the thing is, what was close in New York wasn't necessarily a close encounter to a record label that would sign her and change her life. It wasn't a flashy internship job at a big New York radio station. What was close in New York that changed Doechii's life was being close to bankruptcy and having no change, resorting to a change that would change everything. Being broke in New York resorted Doechii to eventually moving back to Florida, and that's when reality finally hit hard. It wasn't about living on a prayer in a big city. Now she had to simply stay afloat. So to do so, Doechii took a day job at a local insurance company. A far cry from her artistic aspirations. For a while, she led a double life. Office employee by day, budding rapper by night, funneling every spare dollar into studio time and self-funded projects. In late 2020, this do-or-die hustle would lead her to proudly release an EP titled Oh the Places You'll Go, funding it all out of her own pocket. But before doing so, it wouldn't be long before the balance of being a corporate clerk and a creative composer would collapse. In early 2020, Doechii was abruptly fired from her job, an event she met with a mix of tears and uncanny bravery. Rather than hide her pain, she opened up her YouTube channel and hit record. With no job, no money, and no place to stay, effectively hitting rock bottom, Doechii spoke to the camera to whoever would listen.
So I got fired today. I don't give a f***, to be honest. Either way, I'm gonna be straight. I think tomorrow I'm just gonna go to a whole bunch of like studios. Ask if they have any internships open. Like this one, I have nothing to lose. I literally have nothing to lose. I have no place. I have no job. I have no children. Who cares? I'm just gonna do it. I'll let you know how that goes.
And you could hear it in her voice. In that vulnerable moment, a 21-year-old Doechii refused to concede defeat. Either way, I'ma be straight. At this point, I have nothing left to lose, she proclaimed determinedly, resolving that tomorrow I'm just gonna go to a whole bunch of studios and ask if they have internships open. And see, this YouTube channel would turn into Doechii's lifeline. With nothing left to fall back on, she continued to bet on herself completely, and this moment of desperation set in motion the very breakthroughs that she'd been longing for. While taking a walk through Tampa, likely on a hunt to find a record studio that she could work at, Doechii stumbled across a pile of books, one of them called The Artist's Way.
I saw this book, and while the cover looks really boring, I was just drawn to it for some reason, so I picked it up and started reading it, and I think it's gonna be a whole vibe.
On the brinks of defeat and during a dark period of writer's block, Doechii picked this book up at the perfect time. The book, written by Julia Cameron, is a 12-week program designed to unblock creativity using practices like morning pages, which are daily streams of consciousness writing, and artist dates, which are solo creative outings. For a music artist like Doechii, it helps deepen self-awareness, overcome creative blocks, and build discipline, fueling more authentic, consistent artistic expression. And Doechii read it cover to cover, completed all 12 weeks of the creative course, and of course documented the entire journey on her YouTube channel.
Today is the end of week 1 of the course. Julia in this motherfucking book got on my nerves. This week too, I made some very interesting observations. Where to even start? I'm so exhausted. Like I'm in a standstill, especially inward. And if I'm growing inward, I know that I'm growing outward. Okay, so this week I said I felt more open to change, which is definitely true. Kind of gave myself permission to accept the fact that I may just gravitate towards other crafts, and that's okay.
Finishing this book gave Doechii the creative fuel needed to complete her debut EP, the one I mentioned that was fully self-funded, called Oh, the Places You'll Go. The purpose of the book was to up-tap your highest creative potential by stripping your ego, letting loose of the outside world, and channeling your inner child. And doing so would play a pivotal role in landing Doechii her big break.
I read the book The Artist's Way, and I did all of the weeks, and it's basically this artistic creative recovery course. Creatively, I just felt blocked and cluttered. So I started this book to kind of self-help, and it ended up inspiring the concept for the project. A lot of things that were talked about in the book was mending the relationship between you and your inner child.
Doechii's debut EP took on the same name of the children's book of the same name, Oh, the Places You'll Go, by Dr. Seuss. As far as the inspiration behind the project, I'll let Doechii tell it.
Obviously, it's one of my favorite childhood books, but overall, the message is so powerful in there. I think Dr. Seuss just simplifies life and makes it so simple when you read the book.
This project would feature Doechii's big breakout hit, with the title sounding like it's fresh out of a Dr. Seuss book itself. Drop a comment if you remember the song. Yucky Blucky Fruitcake. It eventually became a viral TikTok moment, but it wasn't the luck of simply going viral. Doechii used her last unemployment check to shoot the music video, adding her creative branding to trigger a viral moment to happen. Within a few months of the project's release, Doechii's virality and charismatic internet presence caught the attention of massive industry figures who she still has connections with today. In a twist of fate, Top Dog Entertainment president TDE's Anthony Musa Tiffith Jr. stumbled upon Doechii's music in 2021 and was floored by her raw talent. He reached out and encouraged her to move to Los Angeles, even offering a couch at his own place to sleep on until she gets back on her feet. And with barely a second thought, Doechii packed her belongings and left the hometown swamp for the concrete jungle of LA. The girl who had once been fired, broke, and sleeping on college couches was now entering the halls of a powerhouse label behind legends like Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, Ab-Soul, and SZA. Doechii signed with TDE and Capitol Records in March of 2022, becoming the first female rapper on TDE's roster. The dream was coming true, therefore all her problems were now over, right? Well, not quite. In truth, Doechii was about to discover that the hardest battles often arrive after the first taste of success. Doechii hit the ground running in Los Angeles. Almost immediately, she dropped a slick, confident single, Persuasive, and even snagged a spot performing on tour with SZA. And by 2023, the hard work was paying off because her bubbly pop, R&B/hip-hop single, What It Is, became a summer hit and gave Doechii her first Billboard Hot 100 entry. Now, most people don't even know this song was actually recorded by Doechii. Compared to her breakout 2024 Alligator mixtape, the vocals, the vibe, the messaging of What It Is sounds nothing like who she is as an artist today. And while What It Is a great record, it was tailor-made for radio. Some might call it a bubblegum pop hit. And with a decade of choir experience, Dr. Seuss-style experimentation, battles of being on the brinks of homelessness in search of a creative spark, a catchy pop love song didn't seem like the bold, definitive breakout introduction Doechii was destined for within the mainstream. On the outside, it looked like a rapid rise. Coachella appearances, major magazine features, and a skyrocketing profile, all while being signed to one of the most prolific rap record labels. However, behind the scenes, the pressure and temptations of her new life began to take a toll. Doechii was a young woman alone in Hollywood, far from home and carrying the weight of enormous expectations, some set by her record label, others by herself. The grind of constant studio sessions and the label's search for a commercial debut album left her creatively drained. As she later admitted, by late 2023, Doechii had fallen into a, as she puts it, relentless death roll of personal turmoil, feeling like she was drowning in her own vices and a creative numbness that broke her.
I'm internalizing all of the chatter that I'm getting from fans, from haters, from major label, from the guys like, oh yeah, we really like when you rap. Nah, we really like when you sing. She should keep doing the pop. She should keep doing this. And I was just too focused on what everybody else wanted for Doechii versus what Doechii wanted for Doechii.
And in my opinion, this is where the industry plant narrative grew its roots from. To many casual pop fans, it seemed like Doechii came out of nowhere in 2024. But really, she's been putting in insane work behind the scenes for years, testing out different styles, developing as an artist. The problem is, regardless of how many hits she racked up before her debut mixtape in 2024, there was no cohesive sound, no specific story being told. Doechii didn't know exactly who she was as an artist just yet. The label was almost trying to manufacture her into something she wasn't. The direction wasn't fully established or solidified. But because her final creative form was fueled so quickly once she put out her 2024 Alligator mixtape, most casuals didn't know the full backstory. It was like a brand new artist giving you their whole life all at once. But you'll see very shortly that that was all intentional.
It took me a really, really long time to figure out the direction of where I wanted to go with my music. We were dropping singles and time had gone by. And I was trying to discover who I was musically through singles. You know, you have artists that are single artists, and then you have artists that are like conceptual album artists.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm that type of artist.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't see that because I had never dropped a project before. So it was like 4 years went by and I got 10 singles out. I was like, listen, we gotta let something go as soon as possible. I've learned how to truly be codependent on me and validate myself, because when I first started out, I would internalize a lot of things. I'm being encouraged to make music like this or do it this way or work with these type of producers. And I would internalize that as, oh, they don't like me.
See, while Doechii was searching for her creative identity, she was also losing herself to another vice. The very same woman who once brimmed with self-made confidence on YouTube was now racked with anxiety, writer's block, and a creeping sense of self-doubt. Away from the cameras, Doechii began to self-medicate her stress and loneliness. The parties in LA were endless, and soon she picked up a quote-unquote pesky drug habit in Hollywood. A vice she later candidly references in her music. At times, she hardly recognized herself. The reckless bravado, the late-night binges, the mornings after filled with regret, her mental health plummeted into depression, exacerbated by a rough breakup that left her heartbroken. In private journal entries and in songs, Doechii poured out her feelings of failure. Had she come this far only to lose herself? Each day felt like a spin in the alligator's death roll, as she metaphorically described it. A chaotic whirl dragging her deeper the more she struggled. Doechii was on the brink of being devoured by her own dreams, but true to her pattern, hitting a new bottom only ignited Doechii's fighting spirit once again. In early 2024, after months of darkness, she made a brave choice to claw her way out of the pain. She sought sobriety, distancing herself from the scene that threatened to consume her.
I'm only not listening to the spirit of God when I am distracted internally. That's why I keep telling y'all this sobriety thing. I hear from God better when I'm sober and I'm clear-minded.
It wasn't easy to break free. Nights in withdrawal and self-reflection never are. But gradually, her mind cleared. In this newfound clarity, Doechii realized that waiting for inspiration or label direction was what was killing her artistry. She needed to take back control of her own narrative, just like she had done with her first breakout EP in 2020. And in that moment of chaos, Alligator Bites was birthed. In describing the Alligator Bites Never Heal mixtape concept, Doechii says, alligators perform a spinning maneuver known as the death roll to submerge and dismember its prey underwater. This past year, I've grappled with what felt like a relentless death roll in my life, a dance of drowning in my own vices, battling differences with my label, and a creative numbness that broke me. In my research about alligator attacks, I found that a common thread in each survivor was that the main reason they survived is because they fought back. This mixtape is my fight back. I am nobody's prey. I was born to be the predator. And what does a predator do? They continue hunting. So one spring morning in July of 2024, an energized and freshly sober Doechii walked into a meeting with her label executives. They were expecting updates on her long-delayed debut album. Instead, Doechii made a startling proclamation. Forget the album for now. She was going to drop a mixtape in just 1 month on her own terms. She later looked back on the process saying, I literally called my label and I was like, I'm going to drop a mixtape on August 30th. This is what my plan is. This is what I want to do. Aside from a brief study on alligators and a decade worth of blood, sweat, and tears climbing her way through this industry, Doechii didn't have the concept of this mixtape fully fledged out. But something in her said that she had to test her creative limits and put this end of August deadline on the tape. And that's exactly what she did.
It was something in my spirit that was like, you need to drop this project now. If you don't drop this project now, you're going to miss the mark. And I was like, I got to get this out right now. I don't know why, but God was just tugging on my spirit like it's time to go.
Top Dog was stunned. Albums usually take months or years to conceptualize, create, polish, and roll out. But Doechii had absolute conviction. She had conceived this plan in a surge of creativity and a refusal to stay stuck. By announcing the 30-day creation deadline to her team and her fans, she ensured that there was no backing out. The pressure was immense, but it was exactly the jolt her creative heart needed. As the weeks of summer 2024 went by, Doechii released several loose songs onto her old YouTube page, titling them The Swamp Sessions. These sessions yielded 6 raw tracks that would form the backbone of her Alligator Bites Never Heal mixtape. Nissan Altima, Catfish, Boom Bap, each song possessing a wildly varying creative edge, sound, and message. Song by song, she was regaining her confidence. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, she poured her soul into deeper cuts that channeled all the anguish and growth of the past year. She rapped about heartbreak and creative rebirth. She sang about temptation and denial. She even revisited a fictional therapist character from one of her early EPs to help her process pain, blurring the line between reality and art. By the time August 14th, 2024, her 26th birthday rolled around, Doechii had miraculously completed 19 tracks for this mixtape. That day, she officially announced the project, Alligator Bites Never Heal, slated for release at the end of the month. What could have easily been a messy, rushed, half-formed 30-day experiment turned out to be the first cohesive, daring, and emotionally searing project that hip-hop had seen in a very long time. Doechii had harnessed the chaos of her life into art that was both uncompromisingly personal and sonically adventurous. Now, while the world did not catch on right away to Alligator Bites Never Heal, we obviously know that this project, with a decade's plus worth of lived experiences packed into the subject matter of the record, would be the project that would shoot Doechii into stardom several months later once the Grammys rolled around. But if this is still not enough for you to believe that Doechii's come up and her development as an artist was organic, then look no further than the numbers themselves. Yeah, you might say, okay, she has huge numbers on Spotify, but that's because they're all bots, right? She's an industry plant. TDE just paid for her to have a bunch of bots on her profile. So what would you say to people actually showing up to her shows? What would you say to her shows actually selling out? Because that's exactly what happened in late 2025. After everyone was screaming industry plant, Doechii embarked on her own solo tour and completely sold out the entire thing. Every single venue sold out, and these weren't small venues either. She was packing out 6,000 person venues on average. An industry plant is an artist that a label is shoving down your throat through aggressive marketing, making it seem like that artist is everywhere when in fact they have no real actual core fan base to validate the type of spotlight that they're generating. With Doechii, that's completely not the case. I mean, as you can see, she's packing out crowds of real people. These are not bots in the crowd. The same way they want to scream bots, but Kendrick is on these stadium tours selling out 60,000 person venues. Doechii, the quote-unquote industry plant, is out here in her first year in the industry selling out 6,000 plus people venues. So that's why when Akademiks says dumb crap like, "Those 3 Big Macs are for me," people think she's an industry plant because her movement isn't felt. She's winning all these awards when no one actually knows her music. Or she's doing things in her first year that usually takes artists 6, 7, 8 years to accomplish. It's completely false, considering the fact that like I showed you guys, Doechii has put in almost a decade of work to get to this point, failing multiple times, also having hits way back in 2023, 3-4 years ago, long before the industry plant narratives came about. She's been bubbling, cultivating this fan base, and if you want to talk about movements not being felt, I mean, again, that's no more visible than the fact that she sold out 14 dates, 6,000 people venues. So this industry plant narrative has to be spread with some sort of ulterior motive.
Doechii, people think you're a plant because you have plant tendencies. You win all the award shows. Like, yo, people have heard either a handful or maybe none of your songs, yet you seem to be the most, like, overhyped. We're seeing things that would normally take an artist 10 years. You're doing it out the gate. The thing about hip-hop is that you could feel a movement. You could feel something that's happening around you, whether you're into that song or you're into that shit at all. And the thing with Doechii is we can't really pinpoint it, and that's the problem.
It wasn't just Akademiks who had these thoughts. Joe Budden at one point had also implied that Doechii may or may not be an industry plant.
And fishy, ain't nobody heard from Doechii.
What, the industry plant?
Move right along. Yeah, because I thought it would be a little more obvious than it is, but I guess it's not yet.
And of course, for whatever reason, Doechii's biggest critic, if you want to call him that, is Adin Ross. Now, Adin Ross, to me, is one of the most vile content creators on the internet. Alright, I'm sorry, I could do a whole video ranting about this guy, but there's so many facets of his personality and what he brings to the internet that is just disgusting. I mean, we're gonna get to his whole issue with Doechii, but just to focus on how gross he is, I mean, this is a man who just as recent as a few days ago was telling FaZe Banks, I think his name is, a white dude, that it's okay for him to say the N-word as long as he's not saying it in a racist way. At the same time, this is a guy who is Jewish but weaponizes his religion for his own personal gain. He recently got NFL player Puka Nacua, sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, in deep controversy because he had Puka do an anti-Semitic gesture live on stream. Of course, Adin doesn't suffer any of the consequences. Puka does. Joe Budden called this out, highlighting he believes Adin is a racist little kid who's only destructive because he knows he can hide behind a security guard, hide behind the lawyer. There's no consequences to what he says. At the same time, Adin Ross, again, a Jewish person, is, in my opinion, I could be wrong, the main person responsible for platforming Nick Fuentes, a known white supremacist, racist, anti-Semite, on the most mainstream stage he has ever been on. Nick Fuentes was banned from every platform, had very limited reach, until Adin Ross brought him on his live stream and gave him the cosign of being one of the funniest people on the internet. Those are Adin Ross's words. This is, again, a man who, if he came into power, would probably have every single one of Adin Ross's people eliminated. I say all this to say this is the caliber of individuals that Adin Ross surrounds himself with. This is just kind of a snapshot of what he stands for, what his values are, and where his moral compass is. But for whatever reason, he tried to play the moral police months ago when it came to Doechii. See, when she was at the Met Gala, I believe, she had all her team, fixing up her costume, and in one of those high-pressure, tense situations where you're trying to rush out to get onto the red carpet, you have this fancy dress made out of a million different fabrics or whatever the hell that requires like 10 different staff members just to hold it up. It's a high-pressure, tense situation, right? So that caused Doechii to end up yelling at the people who were fixing her outfit, and this led Adin Ross to basically go off on Doechii.
You guys can say shit, whatever you want about me, but one thing about me is I'm not an industry plant. Dochi, the umbrella clip pissed me off. What an entitled, unintelligent piece of she is, bro. I'm not joking, bro. Stop listening to her music. Carti and Abel, why would you give her a feature on a remix? You shouldn't have cleared it. She's just the worst. She's a piece of shit. She stole someone that I used to know. She makes no good music. She's horrible.
What's funny is you never heard anyone from Dochi's actual direct team make a comment on this, like, yeah, Dochi treated me unfairly or anything. It was Adin Ross who decided that this makes Dochi a horrible person, right? So he already has this animosity towards her. Now, she releases this new song about a day before New Year's. It's called Girl Get Up featuring SZA. Great song. It samples What Happened to That Boy by the Clips. The cover art is a picture of her braids that she wore on the Alligator Bites Never Heal album cover being cut off and thrown onto the floor, basically symbolizing this is a new era, right? And on that song, she's definitely making a declaration that, you know, she's heard all the comments. She's heard what people have said over the last 6 to 8 months since her career really took off to another level. And she's announcing she'll be addressing a lot of this on the album while also getting into a couple key important points on this song. Specifically addressing all the people fueling those industry plant rumors. On the second verse, Dochi raps, "All that industry plant stuff is whack. I see it on the blogs. I see you in the chats. I see you suck every rapper guy's D from the back. But what's the agenda when the it girl black? You can't fathom that I worked this hard, and y'all can't fathom that I earned this chart." So this alone was enough for Adin Ross to think that Dochi was talking about him. And because of that, he went on an absolute tirade about Dochi. All on the last night of 2025. This is how he decided to spend his last night of the year. Him, 6ix9ine, and this other streamer, I don't even know his name, decided to make a diss song against multiple different rappers. 6ix9ine was dissing Lil Durk and Julio Fulio. Adin Ross was, of course, dissing Dochi. But he wasn't just dissing her, it was the language he's using, right? I'm going to try to play a clip of this song so you guys can hear it, but beyond just getting copyrighted, I just don't even want to, like, share this nonsense. I don't think this crap deserves the extra exposure.
Dochi! Dochi!
So obviously, if you guys could have heard it, he calls her a dirty B word. And then, of course, because his whole personality is like, you know, touch me, say anything about me, and I'll sue you, he makes a joke that he's worried that Dochi is now going to come after him and sue him.
When I say Dochi about interviews, I just want to add in, like, you can wait like 5 seconds, allegedly, in my opinion. Can I say that really quick? You just clock in and put it at the end of the song?
Yeah.
Rap
songs can't be used in
court. Every top artist right now, they're about their views. Like,
what was crazy to me is that, like, there have been so many people calling Dochi an industry plant. My first guess when I first heard this new Dochi song was not that she was directly talking about Adin Ross. It could have been Joe Budden. It could have been Akademiks. But for some reason, Adin Ross was so hung up on the fact that this was 100% about him. And he was genuinely, like, sad over this, throwing a little temper tantrum like a little girl.
18. Well, listen, I'm doubling down, bro. Dochi, you're a horrible musician. You suck at music. That's why you fell off and you're coming at me, a streamer. And it was a rigged Grammy. What the You can't name me 3 Dochi songs right now. 3.
Anxiety.
That's the one she sampled. Yeah, so name 3.
Then it's like the comments just keep getting more and more vile, right? And again, this is like the last night of the year. This is how he's deciding to spend his New Year's, is talking about Dochi in this regard.
Dochi, I'm gonna go about Dochi tomorrow, but I ain't gonna have that dumb. Sorry, she's not fat. That dumb, that botted. Dude, that stupid. She dropped from
Stop talking about the black queen.
I don't give a about none of that. Yo, let me tell you something right now.
I'm mad because she made it. No bots.
Look at her monthly listeners right now. That went from 60 million to 20 million.
She blew up.
And the whole monthly listeners argument that he's trying to make, I mean, I explained it to you guys earlier, right? Like, she literally was one of 3 female rappers in history to ever win Rap Album of the Year at the Grammys, right? There's a reason why her monthly listeners shot up to 60 million and then shot back down to 20. She hit a milestone that only 2 other female MCs have ever hit. It's literally basic knowledge that a bunch of new people who didn't know who she was went to check her out because the Grammys are literally watched by millions of people. Then her song Anxiety blows up, making more monthly listeners come onto her page. Then she doesn't drop any new music. So naturally, a lot of these people who just checked in after the Grammy Awards eventually ended up checking out. This is natural activity, so to attribute it to bots, I mean, again, all these guys, Drake, Adin Ross, they have no source when they make these accusations, right? That's why Drake's lawsuit went nowhere. And with Adin Ross, like, the spiral only got crazier. He's spending his New Year's Eve, like, just watching old Doechii interviews, old Doechii clips, breaking them down line by line, trying to critique every angle, come at it from the moral police perspective, which is absolutely insane. Adin Ross, of all people, trying to play the moral police. But that's what we have happening here.
I mean, strike one. You're mad. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, all these dudes defending her. Do you guys understand that she doesn't even like you? She that's the thing. Like, that's like insane. You wouldn't be here without a straight man in your life. Like, chat, we wouldn't be here without straight men. How would you be alive without a straight man? Do you not want to reproduce?
So then Glasses Malone steps in. If you guys don't know who Glasses is, he is a West Coast rapper slash public figure slash podcaster and is someone who had been heavily affiliated with Kendrick Lamar, the TDE camp, for decades at this point. He comes out, he's had enough of the way Adin Ross has been slandering, talking about Doechii at this point. It's one thing to make the diss song aiming back at Doechii. That's perfectly fine. But once you start getting so vulgar and disgusting with it, calling her a dirty B repeatedly and saying all the vile things you've been saying, I mean, at this point, enough is enough, right? So Glasses says, like, Adin Ross, at this point, anyone who is standing next to him, if they make their way to LA, they're going to have to answer for the disgusting things Adin Ross has been saying.
Adin talking shit about Doechii. There's no way you gonna think this cool. You thinking you popping and talking shit about that sister. I'm gonna fuck what she said to that art. You keep calling her names, bro. I swear to God on Olivia, bro. It's going to come to a place where that's like, it's permanent. Keep letting you get it off because they want to be cool with you. It's one thing to say, hey man, you know what? That lady ain't said your name, so you assuming it, you finna start calling her out her name. I'm telling you right now, 7th Street Crit, not going for that. It ain't even got nothing to do with TDE. Eventually, you just a white man talking shit about this sister. That's just not gonna fly, homie. And if you keep doing it, I'm gonna start pressing all the niggas around you. I'm not gonna press you because I don't know where you at and I don't know how to get to you. But all the niggas around you, they don't got your money. And I'm gonna make it my business to make Crip start pressing all the niggas around.
And of course, Adin claps back with a response of his own, asking why Glasses Malone is not out here taking care of his kids, saying that Glasses is just playing the race card. But when in reality, it's like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the term arrested development, but this kid, Adin Ross, I'm going to call him a kid. He's 25 years old. He's only a few years younger than me. But you can obviously tell that all he knows is streaming, right? For the last, 7 years of his life, like since he was 17 years old, this guy has not matured in the real world. He hasn't been punched in the face for things he said. He hasn't been held accountable for his actions. He doesn't realize that saying what he's been saying about a woman in general in the real world would just not fly, right? Again, this is a kid who has lived his life on the internet, who has grown up, his brain has developed in the confines and based on the language that you see on the internet. You can't hold this guy to any sort of moral standard.
And you're a black man worrying about a white man talking about Doechii for being an industry plant. You won't admit it, you're a simp, you're fat as f***. She's not gonna f*** you, fat f***. I don't know what to tell you, this falling out podcast of you. Look at these two fucking old heads. Can you guys go take care of your kids? Please, guys, it's actually getting embarrassing. You probably have multiple baby mamas. I'm not stupid. You guys will defend this girl, but you won't even defend probably your own baby mama.
And then the saddest part about this entire situation is, you got money, you got power, you got money, you'll get a lot of people who in the real world would want nothing to do with you pretend to be your friend, all again for more clout and money and resources that they could suck off of you. So Adin Ross, instinctively, again, this is not a guy who has suffered the consequences of being punched to the face or being held accountable for his actions or his words. What he does instead is hide behind someone else. So immediately when he sees that Glasses Malone is a West Coast podcaster, right, he calls his other friend, the other West Coast podcaster that he knows, Wack 100, to step in to try and defend him. And why I brought up the whole money giving you power thing is because do you think Wack 100 would ever answer this goofball's call if Adin Ross didn't have something to offer him?
Yo, this dude named Glasses Loke and Trap Bradshaw, they're threatening me.
Glasses? No, I know them dudes, bro. Trap ain't nobody. Don't pay him no attention. Glasses, that's family.
Okay, well, can you call Glass and let him know to tee up and get off my PP?
I'm gonna hit nephew. That's family. That's Glasses Malone. Shit, Trap is just clout chasing. He's a clubhouse for like 5 followers. Don't pay him no mind. Don't even mention his name. Glasses Malone is who he is. I'll call nephew right now.
Thanks, bro.
All right.
But anyways, it's looking like Adin Ross is going to have a little bit more to worry about than just Doechii, Glasses Malone, the West Coast, or anyone offended by his disgusting comments, because he might be roped into some real serious legal issues regarding his promotion of the platform Stake. And it's not just Adin Ross, it's also his little butt buddy, Drake, and Akademiks' little minion, Grand Wizard Chat Guy, who may have all been tied up in this very same lawsuit. If you guys been keeping up with the channel, you probably remember months ago. I played this clip now several times because to me it was very disturbing and confusing. Months ago on his live stream, Akademiks had revealed that his little minion, Grand Wizard Chat Guy, who is allegedly a Vietnamese man who is hiding out in Australia, and he is the one running the Akademiks TV Twitter page, which spews out a bunch of vile, disgusting, not only propaganda, but just damn near hate speech about different artists, specifically obviously ones that are friends with or tied to the same label as Kendrick Lamar, because this account is pro Drake, right? Well, Akademiks revealed that there was actually a private investigator who was camping out outside this Grand Wizard Chat Guy's house in Australia, who ended up getting on a call with the chat guy, and this private investigator was asking all these strange questions about what Grand Wizard Chat Guy knows about Drake using bots on his music, what he knows about Stake, what his connection is to Drake and Akademiks, if Drake, pays Akademiks for them to post stuff on the Twitter page. And at the time, even Akademiks is confused, like, who hired this private investigator to be asking these questions? Was it Rock Nation? Because again, at the time, they were calling Akademiks in for depositions about a Megan Thee Stallion media case. Was it Kendrick Lamar or UMG who was doing a counterattack on Drake's lawsuit, which of course was about botting on Not Like Us? No one knew what this was about, but we might now have some clarification. But before we actually look at this new lawsuit, which clarifies a lot, we have to look at what exactly went down with this phone call between Grand Wizard Chat Guy and the private investigator. If you guys been following the channel for a while, you might want to skip like 5 minutes ahead, but just for some added context, let's actually hear Akademiks try to make sense of what was going down when this private investigator was questioning his little minion, Grand Wizard Chat Guy. I'll let the old rapaholics take it away from here.
Sat outside, somehow got phone numbers, texted saying, hey, we're not leaving outside until we see you. We want to speak to you. By the way, also, I need to know what Rock Nation got with Drake. What they got going on?
This is not the Akademiks RICO. This is not the Akademiks takedown. This is an attempted takedown at Drake. They're trying to dig up information from Akademiks' team on what they know behind Drake, but they've been digging, they've been grilling, all right?
This is the Akademiks media empire RICO, except it's bigger than that. No, this is the Drake RICO, because I've listened to this before. They don't want me, they want Drake. Listen to this.
So Akademiks plays the phone call between the private investigator and Grand Wizard, and basically Grand Wizard, he's a guy in Australia. You can look him up. His picture's been exposed. Akademiks is already jumping ship. He's already acting like he doesn't know who this guy is. He wants nothing to do with him. He's completely disassociating with this guy.
Who's the wizard then? I'm obviously the wizard here.
To be fair, I don't know who Grand Wizard is. I want to put that on the record. It's my boy, but he might be AI.
So this is where it gets crazy, guys, and you guys are going to love this, all right? So the private investigator who's questioning this Grand Wizard guy, all right, she says that she knows for 100% certain that Drake bots his music, and she wants to know what Grand Wizard knows about that. Because remember, again, Akademiks had that guy on the stream who was claiming that he was botting music for Kendrick Lamar. TDE was asking Akademiks if Drake is actually the one paying them for all the nasty promotion they do on their Twitter pages, right? We know that when Grand Wizard's account, his Instagram account, got hacked, Drake was the one who had the connects to get it back. And now this private investigator is turning on the Grand Wizard guy to say, I want to know what you know about Drake using bots, because I know 100% for certain Drake is out here botting his music, all right? Deploying the K-bots onto his mediocre trash. And they're looking for info, right? They're looking to see, because obviously at this point, these Akademiks guys, all these little minions, they have become infiltrated in Drake's operation. And this investigator is looking into whatever they have on Drake for whatever reason. But she says 100% they know, based off the investigations they've done, that Drake has used bots. After all the Kendrick accusations he's made, they're claiming that Drake 100% himself uses bots on his music.
So you're accusing... So Drake bots his music. That's what you're trying to say. Allegedly.
I'm 100% sure he does.
You're 100% sure.
Yo, Rock Nation, what y'all got going on, man? Rock Nation, Meg the Stallion. How Drake telling y'all other niggas bot? Y'all trying to get at Drake because y'all think he bot? Come on, man.
Akademiks has said that he's done his research on this investigator. She is in fact real and was actually some sort of cyber security investigator, right? So obviously that deals in digital manipulation, right? Fake streams could fall under that category, which is what she's saying she knows 100% for certain Drake uses. Akademiks is confused. Is this some sort of botting investigation? Is that what you're trying to find? Are you trying to find out, if we're the one deploying these illegal fake streams onto Drake's music? Grand Wizard goes on to ask her, why would the biggest artist in the world need fake streams? Well, hey, how do you think he became the biggest artist in the world? The bots, all right, the bots. The investigator also goes on to ask about Stake, which Drake has a partnership in, right? If you guys didn't know, that's the gambling company that Drake has been doing a bunch of live streams where he gambles on, promotes it to the youth. Very disgusting thing to be promoting to everybody, but yeah, that's what Drake promotes, all right, to get the check. Anything for the bag, right? So Drake has been doing that. He's been allegedly using the bots. According to this investigator, she's trying to figure out what Akademiks and his little minion know about that.
So why are you certain? The evidence shows that. But why does the biggest artist in the world need to bot his music if he's the biggest artist in the world?
Let's talk about Stake.
You said what?
Let's talk about Stake.
I know the investigator's name. I looked up their credentials. Again, I don't want to dox them because I don't want none of y'all harassing them. Apparently, they worked in cyber frauds, money laundering frauds, all type of fraud. I don't know if they're investigating botting or what. I don't know what they're investigating.
And this investigator makes it very clear that she believes there is a connection between Drake and this Grand Wizard guy and Akademiks, right? That they're all in cahoots with one another, deploying some very sketchy things, to say the least. And based off her line of questioning, it's in relation to Stake, it's in relation to the bots, which she says she knows 100% for certain Drake has been using.
How my name get up in the mix, shorty?
No, I'm asking if they pay you to do the work that you do.
What work do I do?
On behalf of Akademiks, on behalf of Drake, do they pay you to do the work that you do?
At some point, we gotta say, this whole, Meg the Stallion, Rock Nation, they're losing it.
So the Grand Wizard goes on to say that these are all Kendrick Lamar allegations, right? The whole botting allegations that this woman is making, it's related to Kendrick Lamar, right? Because, of course, Drake was accusing Kendrick of using the bots, so now she's trying to flip it to say, no, Drake is the one using the bots. She's emphasizing she knows nothing about Kendrick Lamar. She is a hired investigator, a cyber investigator. It's her job to know that Drake is using bots.
Because this is a very harsh allegation. This is a man's craft here you're talking about. He's perfected his craft over his tenure of his huge music career, and you're trying to diminish it with some Kendrick Lamar allegations?
I don't know any Kendrick Lamar allegations. What I know is data. I'm an investigator, so I know data.
Yeah, I know.
All right, back to the new Rapaholics and the new lawsuit. So with all that confusion, not knowing who this private investigator was working for, we may have some clarification at this point. Because a lawsuit was brought forth in Virginia by Lashana Ridley and Tiffany Hines, who are users of the website stake.us in the United States, and they're suing on their own behalf and on the behalf of other people who are in the same situation as them. They're suing Sweepstakes Ltd, which does business as stake.us. They're suing Aubrey Drake Graham, obviously Drake. They're suing Aiden Ross, and they're suing George Nguyen. Sorry for mispronouncing his name. He is allegedly the guy behind the vile Akademiks TV propaganda Twitter page and the guy who allegedly goes by Grand Wizard Chat Guy online. If you guys don't know what Grand Wizard is, you might want to look it up. It'll give you some context on the morality of this guy. Same thing with Aiden Ross, right? So we're not going to go through this lawsuit page by page, but instead I'm going to bring you guys through a timeline of the events that kind of went down here. So before 2022, basically Stake.com launches as an online cryptocurrency casino. The platform is not legally authorized to operate in the United States or in Virginia because gambling was not legal, but despite this, US users can still access Stake.com by using VPNs that conceal their physical location. Stake.com already offers casino-style games and a system that allows bets and payouts that are tied to real monetary value via cryptocurrency. But in early/mid 2022, Stake founders created Stake.us, which was basically Stake's workaround to the legal issues of gambling in America. Stake.us is nearly identical to Stake.com. Basically, you can play the same games, the platform design's the same, the currency structure is the same with all the crypto, but Stake.us is marketed as a social casino that supposedly does not involve real money gambling. According to this lawsuit, though, this branding is used to bypass U.S. federal law and Virginia gambling law. Again, Stake.us, they offer all the same gambling games, slots, roulette, blackjack, all that crap. But Stake.us operates differently in that there's different actual virtual currencies. They have these gold coins, which hold no real world value. They can't be cashed out. They're marketed as for entertainment. So basically, you can play these casino games on Stake.us, but you're using gold coins that have no real value. But at the same time, they also have Stake Cash, which can be redeemed one-to-one for US dollars via cryptocurrency or gift cards. And this is the actual betting currency. So how they were trying to bypass this is you have to buy the gold coins that have no value, but those gold coins are automatically bundled with Stake Cash. So if you buy $20 worth of gold coins, you get 200,000 gold coins, but you also get $20.05 worth of Stake Cash. So this is Stake's way of bypassing the fact that gambling is illegal in America, right? You as the user, when you're on Stake.us, you're buying these gold coins that have no real value. It's not like you're, paying Stake to then go and gamble. You're paying Stake to get these gold coins to then play these casino games with the gold coins that you bought, the fake money. But the thing is, those gold coins also come with Stake Cash, which can be converted to real money. So it's a weird legal loophole. And the lawsuit alleges that the structure that Stake was doing with this website basically functions as real money gambling. Whatever. 2022, Drake also enters a paid promotional partnership with Stake. He allegedly later publicly states that he earns approximately $100 million per year by promoting Stake. Adin Ross also enters into a paid promotional partnership with Stake, and Drake and Adin Ross begin to live stream together, promote Stake.us to millions of users, not just Stake.com, they promote to the Americans as well, right? And according to the lawsuit, the money Drake and Adin Ross gamble with during streams is provided by Stake itself. And viewers are led to believe that all this money that Drake and Adin Ross are using on these gambling live streams is actually money of their own. In 2023, Stake.us offers a tipping feature, which allows users to send funds to each other. This lawsuit describes this system as unlimited, unregulated, and outside normal financial oversight. Meanwhile, Drake, Adin Ross, and George Nguyen, Grand Wizard Chat Guy, they are allegedly using tipping to move money between themselves. They're transferring gambling proceeds, and again, using house money to gamble on these live streams that they're being paid to promote, and then they're transferring the funds to one another. Why are they transferring money to one another? Well, this lawsuit claims that allegedly it was to fund bot operators and amplification services and to conceal payments from public and regulators. Basically, Drake sending Grand Wizard Chat Guy sending money to Adin Ross, all of them sending money to each other via the Stake platform, the tipping feature that Stake allows. It's hard to keep track of those payments. So if those different payments are being used to fund bots, you wouldn't know that it's Drake because Drake is funding this by moving money around on the Stake platform. And this lawsuit alleges that Drake deploys automated bots and streaming farms onto his music, and he pays for it by, again, tipping on Stake. The bots, as you guys know, are obviously serving the purpose to artificially inflate the play counts of Drake's music and manipulate Spotify and other platforms. And the lawsuit is alleging that it's being funded by Drake tipping on Stake, having money on his Stake account and sending it out. The lawsuit claims that there is a publicly documented $100,000 tip that's exchanged between Drake and Adin Ross via Stake. The The lawsuit cites this as an example of large value transfers that were rotated through the platform. They say that during Drake and Adin Ross's live streams where they're gambling together, there are multiple other instances of repeated large transfers where they're tipping each other large amounts of money on the stake platform. Again, this is all alleged, and according to what's in the lawsuit, everything that I'm saying is just based off information from this lawsuit. Now, where Grand Wizard Chat Guy comes in is his role expands in 2023 and 2024. He allegedly, according to the lawsuit, acts as an operational broker and a facilitator. He converts stake-based currency into cash. He receives cash generated from stake transfers, and he's the one that interfaces with bot vendors, people who sell bots for not just Spotify for music, but also for clipping, for different clips of streamers. You ever see a bunch of clips pop up of Kai Cenat or Adin Ross on Twitter or whatever the case is? Yeah, well, Grand Wizard Chat Guy, he's not only running Akademiks TV, the Twitter page, but he allegedly is publicly connected to the Weekdays Capital, which is a clipping service. They do clipping campaigns across Twitter, Discord, and Kick. And Kick is described as being financially backed by Stake's founders, aka the creators of Stake. They also have a stake, no pun intended, in the streaming platform Kick. And Grand Wizard Chat Guy, or I should say Nguyen, who is believed to be Grand Wizard Chat Guy, he allegedly receives direct payments from clipping administrators. So if this went over your heads, essentially what's going down here is that this lawsuit alleges that from at least 2022 and onwards, Stake.us operated as an illegal online casino that was disguised as a social casino, again, because gambling was illegal in the States, so they had to conceal it as a social casino. And meanwhile, Drake, Adin Ross, and George Nguyen, who may or may not be Grand Wizard Chat Guy, promoted the platform, the Stake platform, used its unregulated tipping system to move and conceal money, and they allegedly funded large-scale artificial streaming and engagement manipulation with this money, causing financial harm to consumers and ongoing violations of federal and state law. All in all, absolutely insane stuff here, and I just find it hilarious that Adin Ross, the guy who runs the Akademiks TV page, they spent all of 2025 criticizing Doechii. Anyone who was somewhat affiliated to Kendrick got the smoke from them. It culminated in a disgusting live stream from Adin Ross on New Year's Eve where he's crapping on Doechii, and of course all those clips are then posted onto the Akademiks TV page, and by the first day of the new year they are now roped into a lawsuit that accuses them of promoting this allegedly illegally functioning gambling platform and using the money-moving systems within that platform to fund these large-scale botting operations to artificially inflate Drake's numbers and their own. It's all alleged, but it's all crazy. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I study
Rapaholics
for a living.